My name is Maya Calloway. I am 35 years old. And last Thanksgiving, my own parents handed gift bags to every grandchild at that table, except mine. My sister Renee's 3 kids each got a shiny wrapped box with a ribbon and a card that said, "To the grandkids who made us proud this year." My daughter Zoe, who is 9, just stared at the empty space in front of her like she was waiting for someone to say it was a mistake. My son Noah, 6 years old, tugged on my sleeve and whispered, "Mama, did I do something wrong?" And my nephew Jordan, 15, loud, the kind of kid who had learned to treat weakness like a sport, looked straight across that table at my babies, grinned, and said clear enough for the whole room to hear, "Guess they didn't make the cut." Not one adult at that table said a word to him. I did not yell. I did not lose it, not right there anyway. I pushed back my chair, looked at my kids, and said 2 words. Get coats. We walked out of my parents' front door on Thanksgiving night with the dessert I had spent 3 days making still sitting untouched on their kitchen counter. When we got home, I sent one message to the family group chat. Within 40 seconds, my phone went absolutely crazy, calls from Mom, Dad, Renee, back to Mom again. But here is the thing none of them saw coming. What I did next was going to cost them far more than a gift bag ever could. Welcome to Silent Revenge, the channel where everyday people stop apologizing for who they are, draw a hard line, and take their lives back one honest story at a time. If you have ever sat at a table with people who were supposed to love you and felt like you did not even exist to them, this one is for you. Before we go any further, drop your city and the time you are watching this in the comments right now. I want to see where Silent Revenge is reaching. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button because this story is just getting started and you do not want to miss what happens at that farmer's market. This story did not start on Thanksgiving. Started years before that, in a small city in Indiana called Cedar Falls. Population around 14,000. Kind of town where everyone either goes to the same church, shops at the same grocery store, or both. Usually both. My dad, Roy, worked 30 years for Cedar Falls City Utilities before he retired. He was solid and quiet, the kind of man who would show up to fix something without being asked but could not tell you he loved you without clearing his throat twice first. My mom, Sandra, is what you might call the unofficial social manager of our whole neighborhood. She runs the Wednesday morning women's Bible study at Grace Community Church, organizes the block cookie exchange every December, and knows everything about everyone within a 5-mile stretch of road. She is the kind of woman who drops off a casserole when you are sick and then makes sure 6 people hear about it afterward. My older sister Renee married Derek Harmon when she was 24. Derek runs an orthodontics practice on the east side of town. They have a 4-bedroom house with a pool and a 3-car garage. They also have Jordan, Derek's son from before. 3 kids altogether, matching family photos every Christmas, and a life that looked exactly the way Sandra always dreamed family life should look. I went a different direction. I earned a culinary arts degree from the Indianapolis Culinary Institute, came back to Cedar Falls and married a man named Marcus when I was 25. He was charming in public and something else entirely behind closed doors. Marcus decided who I could hang out with and when. He tracked every dollar I spent. When I found out he had moved money out of our joint savings into an account I had no access to, I did not argue, I did not beg. I filed for divorce. I was 29. Zoe was 3 years old. Noah was 5 months old. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment on Maplewood Avenue, 14 minutes from my parents' house. I started over with a hand-me-down stand mixer from a culinary school friend, a cottage food license, and a name I came up with at 2 in the morning while Noah slept on my chest, Sugar and Soul. The menu came straight from my culinary school notebooks. Salted caramel apple tarts, thin buttery shells with a filling that took me 11 tries to get right. Brown butter pecan bars with a shortbread base and a crunch that made people close their eyes on the first bite. Lavender honey pound cake that sold out every single time I brought it anywhere. Every single recipe was mine. Built in a kitchen that smelled like butter and late nights and the specific kind of quiet that only belongs to you after your children fall asleep. 2 years in, I had a steady order list, a growing Instagram page, and enough regulars to keep the lights on and Zoe in her gymnastics class. It was not a big operation, but I had built it from nothing with 2 kids on my hip and flour in my hair, and I was proud of every inch of it. My parents were not proud. They were embarrassed. Not because business was struggling, 'cause I was divorced. In Sandra's world, a woman who left a marriage was a woman who had given up, regardless of what she was walking away from. What mattered to Sandra was that I had walked away. And in her book, that was the kind of thing you spent years making up for. The distance crept in the way a draft comes through an old window. You don't notice it at first, and then one day you are shivering and you cannot remember when it got cold. Sandra stopped calling on Sunday afternoons. Roy's monthly visits quietly became never. Renee's kids had big birthday parties at my parents' house, bounce houses, deli spreads, sheet cakes with piped frosting spelling out their names. When Mason, Renee's youngest, turned 7, my parents spent close to $400 on decorations. Sandra mentioned the amount at dinner the way people mention things they really want you to notice. Noah turned 5 that same month. Sandra mailed a $15 gift card. It showed up 4 days after his birthday. Zoe saw it. Kids catch everything. She stopped asking to visit Grandma's house after that. Instead, she started asking why Grandma never came to ours. I brought it up one time. Sat across from Sandra at her kitchen table, kept my voice calm, told her what I had been watching. The birthday gap. The distance. The way the kids were picking up on it. Sandra stirred her coffee without looking up. Renee needs more help right now, Maya. Derek works long hours. You have always been the self-sufficient one. Honestly, you should see it as a good thing. A good thing. That is what she called it. I stopped fighting after that. I stopped expecting. But I kept showing up because every few weeks Zoe would give me those big brown eyes and say, "Can we go see Grandma? Maybe this time she'll play cards with me." So monthly visits dropped down to holidays only. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter if I felt up to it. Just enough to let my kids believe their grandmother knew their names. Just enough to keep a peace I was already quietly losing. It was 6:48 in the morning when I started loading the car. Kitchen smelled like brown butter and warm caramel. Noah was up on the counter with a wooden spoon he had claimed as his personal tasting tool. Zoe was at the kitchen table, carefully folding up a drawing she had made for Sandra overnight. A handprint turkey in orange and red watercolor, signed in her careful 3rd-grade letters. I set my salted caramel apple tart into its carrier. This was my most requested item at every family gathering. The dessert Sandra served to her Bible study friends and let them think she had made herself. I never corrected her on that. It would have taken energy I did not have. We pulled onto Elmwood Drive 20 minutes later. Renee's white SUV was already parked out front. Derek's dark sedan sat right behind it. Every light in my parents' house was on. The dining room table was set for 10. Turkey in the center. Name cards in Sandra's handwriting. I pulled out Zoe's chair and stopped. Jordan's spot, a sparkly silver gift bag. At Sophia's spot, Renee's daughter 12, another one. Mason's spot, a 3rd. At Zoe's spot, just her name card and nothing else. Noah's spot, the same. I stood there and looked at those 2 empty spots. I told myself the bags were probably a pre-dinner thing. I told myself something would happen for everyone after the meal. I told myself a lot of things that year. Most of them turned out to be wrong. Roy shook my hand when I walked in. An actual handshake. Stiff, awkward, like I was a neighbor returning borrowed equipment. I set my tart carrier on the counter. Nobody touched it. Nobody said thank you. Nobody even moved it to make room for the other dishes. Dinner was Sandra's production from start to finish. She talked about Renee's new kitchen renovation, imported quartz countertops, $14,000. She talked about Derek's practice expanding. She talked about Jordan making the travel basketball team. Every single sentence looped back to Renee's family like a boomerang that only knew one direction. I mentioned between bites that Sugar and Soul had been accepted for a booth at the Cedar Falls Spring Farmers Market, my first real public booth, something I had been working towards since August. 3 months of planning and 2 letters of recommendation. Sandra turned to Roy without missing a beat. Roy, pass the cranberry sauce. Renee, tell everyone about Mason's science project. Renee smiled. Derek cut his turkey. Nobody looked at me. Zoe sat next to Noah with her fingers tracing the edge of her empty placemat, glancing at the silver bags sitting at her cousin's seats. Renee leaned across the table. Maya, have you thought about going back to restaurant work? Teddy paycheck benefits, health insurance for the kids. I have insurance through the marketplace, I said. Right. She smiled again. Just thinking of the kids. Roy asked Noah what he wanted for Christmas. Before Noah could open his mouth, Sandra cut in. Let's not do gift talk right now, Roy. I did not understand the irony of that sentence until about 20 minutes later. Sandra stood up before dessert. She smoothed her blouse, pressed her hands together, and spoke to the table like she was running a ceremony. Before we eat dessert, Grandpa and I have something special. A little recognition for the grandkids who made us really proud this year. She walked to Jordan first, handed him his silver bag. He reached in and pulled out a brand new gaming headset. $80 I knew because Noah had circled one just like it in a store ad that same week. Jordan grinned. Thanks, Grandma. Sophia next. A jewelry kit with real gemstone beads. She screamed with joy. Sandra beamed. Mason last. A big building set with 1,000 pieces. He dumped it straight onto the table. Then Sandra sat back down. Picked up her wine glass. Folded her napkin. That was it. Noah looked at me. Bottom lip steady. He was not hurting yet, he was confused. He leaned in close and whispered, Mama, where's ours? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Zoe did not ask. She already understood. I watched her reach into her jacket pocket, pull her handprint turkey drawing halfway out, look at it for a long second and slowly push it back in. She was not giving it to Grandma anymore. Jordan put the headset on, adjusted the band, looked across at Zoe, then at Noah, and laughed. Guess they didn't make the cut. Nobody said a word. Sandra sipped her wine. Renee looked at her glass. Derek studied a spot on the wall. Roy stared at his plate like a man trying to disappear into it. The only sounds were rustling wrapping paper and the football game in the other room. And my 6-year-old son's face slowly changing, moving from confusion into the kind of knowing that no child should ever have to learn at a dinner table. I looked at Zoe. Her hands were flat in her lap, perfectly still. That is what she does when she is trying hard not to cry. I looked at Noah. He was staring at Jordan's headset with an expression I recognized because I had worn it myself as a little girl, the face of someone figuring out for the first time that they do not count the same way. I looked at Sandra. She was cutting a piece of turkey with the calm of a woman who believed she had just done something necessary. I stood up, pushed my chair in. Zoe. Noah. Get your coats. Sandra set her knife down. Maya. Sit down. You're overreacting. Get your coats, babies. We're going home. I walked to the counter. My tart was right where I had set it 45 minutes earlier, untouched. I wrapped it in the tea towel I had brought and tucked it under my arm. Roy half rose from his chair. Come on, Maya. It's Thanksgiving. I looked at him. Not for us, Dad. Zoe slid off her chair and took Noah's hand without being asked. She reached into her pocket, took out the handprint turkey one more time, looked at it, folded it carefully and put it back. Then she walked to the front door without looking back at a single person at that table. Nobody followed us. If this is hitting close to home right now, if you have ever been made to feel like you were less than everyone else in your own family, hit that like button and drop a comment. Tell me your city and what time you are watching this. I read every single one. And keep watching because what I did next changed everything. The drive home was 22 minutes. Noah was asleep against the car window by minute 4. Zoe sat with her hands folded in her lap and said nothing until I turned off the engine in our driveway. "Mama," she said quietly. "Why doesn't Grandma like us?" I sat in the dark for a second. The dashboard clock read 7:22. "Grandma's going through something right now, baby. None of this is yours to carry." I brought Noah inside, laid him on the couch with his dinosaur blanket, and stood in the kitchen staring at my phone. The family group chat, Harmon Calloway Family Blessings, 17 members, sat at the top of my messages. I typed it short and straight. "Don't invite us again. We're not your entertainment. Your gift is on the way." I did not know what that last line meant yet. I pressed send. Within 40 seconds, 4 missed calls. Sandra. Roy. Renee. Sandra again. Sandra's text, "You are being dramatic. Call me right now." Renee's text, "Seriously? It was just gift bags." Roy's text, "Your mother is crying." I turned my phone face down on the counter. Cut 2 slices of my salted caramel apple tart, the one nobody had touched at my parents' house, put them on plates and set them on our kitchen table. Zoe came in. She sat across from me. We ate in silence while my phone buzzed on the granite like something trapped and desperate. I did not pick it up. I did not know yet what "your gift is on the way" meant. But I knew one thing for certain. I was done pretending. I woke up to 51 unread messages. Sandra had written a 4-paragraph explanation, perfect spelling and all, like she had typed it out in a document and reviewed it before sending. The gift bags were for achievement, she wrote. Jordan had made the honor roll. Sophia won the district spelling bee. Mason received a citizenship award at his school. The whole thing was meant to motivate Zoe and Noah to push harder next year. Noah is 6 years old. He is in 1st grade. His biggest win this year was learning to tie his own shoes, and he celebrated it like he had just climbed a mountain. Roy sent a private message just to me. "Your mom didn't mean to hurt anyone. Come for Christmas. We can talk." Renee texted, "If your kids were in more activities, they would have gotten something too. Don't blame Mom for your choices." I read every message twice. I saved every screenshot. I responded to none of them. At 9 that morning, I called Gloria. Gloria owns a plant nursery and flower shop called Main Street Blooms on Washington Street. She is 61, originally from Memphis, and is the kind of woman who says what she means the first time and never feels the need to repeat herself. She has been my Friday customer since Sugar and Soul launched, 24 slices of lavender honey pound cake every single week, without fail, for her shop counter. I told her everything. The gift bags. Sandra's little ceremony. Jordan's comment. Walking out. Gloria was quiet for about 4 seconds. Then she said, "Honey, that was not tough love. That was a planned-out attack on 2 little kids who did nothing wrong." I let out a breath that felt like it had been stuck in my chest for 12 hours. "Save every message," she said. "Every screenshot. You may need them down the road." I did not know why yet, but I saved all of it. December came cold and quiet. No calls from Sandra, no drop-bys from Roy. The family group chat sat still like a room after a fight where nobody wants to speak first. I threw everything I had into Sugar and Soul. Holiday orders doubled from the year before, mostly word of mouth from a craft fair I had done in early November. I filled 81 orders in 3 weeks. Brown butter pecan bars, cranberry almond shortbread, my salted caramel apple tarts selling out every Saturday. I applied for a booth at the Cedar Falls Spring Farmers Market. 2-page application plus 2 reference letters. Gloria wrote one. My former instructor from the Indianapolis Culinary Institute, who still remembered me 10 years later, wrote the other. I also upgraded my cottage food license to a full food handler's permit. 12 hours of classes, $80. A laminated certificate that went straight onto my refrigerator beside Zoe's spelling test and Noah's finger painting of what he proudly called a space giraffe. Christmas Eve, a card arrived from my parents, addressed to Zoe and Noah. My name was not on the envelope. Inside, a $20 gift card and a note in Sandra's handwriting. Merry Christmas to our grandchildren. Love, Grandma and Grandpa. Zoe looked at the card, then at me. Mama, Grandma forgot your name. She didn't forget, baby. Grandma's upset with me right now. That's between us, it's got nothing to do with you. Zoe nodded and went back to coloring. Noah taped the gift card to the refrigerator like it was a blue ribbon. Then January hit, and I started to see what Sandra had actually been doing while I was busy keeping my head down. I dropped Noah off at Sunshine Kids Academy one Tuesday and another parent, Trish Norwood, gave me a look I recognized right away. Part curiosity, part pity. The look people give you when they know something about you that you do not know they know. I heard about your Thanksgiving, she said. She did not need to say more. Over the next 2 weeks, the whole picture came into focus. Sandra had turned my walkout into a story, and that story was spreading through Grace Community Church the way fire moves through dry grass. Her version was already everywhere before I even knew there was a version. Maya had abandoned the family on Thanksgiving. Maya was keeping the grandchildren away from their grandparents as payback. Maya could not hold a marriage together, and now she was blowing up the whole family. Not one word about the gift bags. Not one mention of what Jordan said. Not one acknowledgement of 2 children sitting at a holiday table and getting nothing while their cousins opened presents 6 feet away. And the story was doing real damage. Orders slowed. 2 regular weekly customers canceled. One texted me, "Sorry, I just don't want to get caught in the middle of anything." I sat at my kitchen table that night with my order spreadsheet open. December, 81 orders. January so far, 44. Revenue down 22% in 3 weeks. Sandra was not just trying to guilt me back into line. She was cutting off the community I had spent 2 years building, one church conversation at a time. Gloria called that evening. "People are talking, Maya. Sandra told the Wednesday group you abandoned the family. You need to know what's being said out there." I opened my laptop and started a folder called Documentation. A spreadsheet for every canceled order. Every name, every day, every excuse they gave. I did not know exactly what I was building yet, but something told me to keep building. I need you to pause right here. Have you ever had someone go behind your back and start poisoning the people around you? Not a fight, something quieter and more calculated than that. Drop a comment and tell me. And share this video with someone who needs to know they are not alone in this. Matters more than you think. Late January. Gloria texted me a screenshot with nothing but a single arrow emoji pointing down. It was Renee's Instagram. A brand new account she had launched that week, Harmon Home Kitchen. Custom desserts and pastries for every occasion. The bio said, "Family recipes made with love." The logo was a rolling pin wrapped in a wheat wreath. Color scheme was warm honey and cream, close enough to mine that a stranger could easily mix them up. I scrolled through the posts. Salted caramel apple tarts. Brown butter pecan bars. Lavender honey pound cake. Every single item from my sugar and soul menu, photographed on $14,000 quartz countertops with professional studio lighting. Renee had blocked me. I could only see what Gloria forwarded. Comments were full of excitement. "These look incredible. Do you ship?" And Renee's reply every single time, "Thank you so much. My grandmother passed these down to me." Our grandmother did not bake. She lived in Terre Haute, played dominoes on Thursday nights, and passed away when I was 13. She never once stood in a kitchen with either of us. Not one single time. I checked the county food license database. No listing for Harmon Home Kitchen. No cottage food permit. No food handler's certificate. She was running a food business out of her home with zero paperwork. But the thing that made my hands actually shake, the thing that knocked the wind out of me, was the last post. A photo of her version of my salted caramel apple tart. My recipe. The one that took me 11 test batches and months of late nights to get right. With a caption that read, "A recipe that's been in our family for generations." And underneath it, a comment from Sandra Calloway, "So proud of my girl. We invest where we see real growth." About 6 months before Thanksgiving, Sandra had said something close to that directly to my face, when I asked if she would post my bakery flyer for her church group. "Our energy only stretches so far, Maya." I did not fully understand what she meant at the time. Standing in my kitchen staring at that comment, I understood every word of it. February. I drove 40 minutes to a small business attorney named Diana Chen, whose office sat above a dry cleaning shop on Route 7 in the next county. First 30-minute consultation was free. I brought a folder, a very thick one. Diana went through it steadily, like someone who reads bad news for a living and does not flinch. Cottage food license for Sugar and Soul, registered October 2023. 162 dated order receipts. 31 Instagram posts going back 23 months, each one with original recipe photos. My culinary school notebook, handwritten and dated with my instructor's margin notes in red ink. Customer emails. My county permit upgrade paperwork. She looked up from the folder. "How long has your sister been operating?" "About 3 weeks." "Any formal training?" "She took a 1-weekend cake decorating class at the community center." 2 years ago. Diana set the folder on her desk and looked at me straight. "You have ownership rights through documented first use. If she tries to officially register a name or product line that is basically the same as yours, we file a challenge the same week." She pulled up Renee's Instagram on her phone, compared it side by side with my documentation. "This is not competition. This is straight-up theft. Keep documenting. Every post. Every comment where she claims these are family recipes. Every order she takes." I asked about cost. She told me her hourly rate was $185. For a formal challenge filing, a flat $1,500. I drove home with the windows cracked even though it was 37 degrees outside. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt something I had almost forgotten. Clarity. The deep, settled kind that comes when you stop asking yourself if you are overreacting and just start acting like a woman who knows exactly what she saw. Late February. My inbox chimed with a confirmation from the Cedar Falls Spring Farmers Market. Booth approved. Slot 12, right between Gloria's flower stand and a honey vendor named Walt who had worked that market for 13 years. That same afternoon, I got a call from the market coordinator, Carolyn. Her voice had the careful, neutral tone of someone picking every word on purpose. "Maya, I want to give you a heads up. We received a second application for a baked goods booth. The product list is nearly identical to yours." She did not say Renee's name. She did not have to. 3 months of silence from my family, and suddenly my sister was applying for a booth 3 tables away from my very first public market. Someone had tipped her off. I did not know who, and honestly it did not change anything. What mattered was this: Renee had Derek's orthodontics income behind her. Professional product photos. A vinyl banner. A website with an online ordering form. Things I could not afford yet. I opened my order spreadsheet. January, 44 orders. February so far, 26. Revenue down 41% from December. Customer messaged me that week and my stomach dropped reading it. "Your sister says she's the one who actually taught you to bake. Is that true?" I stared at that for a full minute. "No. I went to culinary school. I developed every recipe on my own." "Oh." She made it sound like you were the one who copied her. I screenshotted the whole exchange and sent it straight to Diana. There was someone who became quietly important to me during all of this. His name was Dave Portillo. He owned a small farm-to-table restaurant called the Ironwood on the edge of Cedar Falls, and he had been a steady customer of mine since the previous summer, ordering my pecan bars for his dessert menu. He had never once asked for a discount. Dave called me in the second week of February, not about an order. He had noticed the drop in my Instagram activity. He had heard some of the whispers floating around town. He said, "Maya, when I opened my first restaurant, my landlord tried to lease my space out from under me 6 months in. You know what I did? I made it impossible to replace me. I made myself the one people could not imagine going without." He paused. "You already know how to bake. Now you need to make sure everybody in this town knows who has been baking all along." I thought about that for a long time after we hung up. That is when I changed how I was posting on Instagram. No more polished promotional content. Just real life. My kitchen at 5:15 in the morning, the overhead light still yellow. Noah with powdered sugar on his nose. Zoe lining up tart samples on a tray she had decorated with markers. Unglamorous. Real. Mine. Followers climbed from 640 to 900 to 1,200 in less than 3 weeks. A local food blogger named Jenna reached out. Modest following but well respected in the Cedar Falls food scene. "I love the story behind Sugar and Soul," she wrote. "Single mom, culinary school background, 2 years of building from scratch. Can I do a feature?" Post went up the second week of March. It was specific and honest: my cottage food license date, my culinary degree, the step-by-step of building the business from a home kitchen. Did not mention Renee once. Did not need to. 9,000 views in 6 days. New orders. New customers. People who had never heard of Sugar and Soul discovering it for the first time. Dave texted me when the post went live. "There you go. Now let the tarts do the talking." Early March. Gloria called me on a Wednesday evening. Her voice was tight and urgent in a way I had not heard before. "Come to the shop. Right now. Don't ask questions over the phone." I was there in 8 minutes. Gloria was standing behind her counter, phone held out flat like it was a piece of evidence at a trial. Her daughter Kayla was friends with Renee's babysitter, a college junior named Brianna who watched the kids 2 evenings a week. Brianna had been cleaning out her screenshots folder and had accidentally sent a batch to Kayla instead of her roommate. They were screenshots from a group chat. Not the Harmon Calloway Family Blessings thread. A different one. 3 members only: Sandra, Roy, and Renee. The chat was called Planning Committee. The messages were dated 2.5 weeks before Thanksgiving. Sandra, get gift bags for the 3 kids. Not Maya's. She needs to feel the consequences of pulling back from this family. Renee, Derek can get the gaming stuff at cost. I'll handle the rest. Roy, is this really necessary? Sandra, if she wants to be part of this family again, she needs to show up the right way. This will wake her up. And then the day after I walked out, after my text, after the missed calls, one final message from Sandra. She'll come back before Christmas. She always does. I read those messages standing in a flower shop that smelled like eucalyptus and cold water. My hands went completely numb. My chest felt hollowed out. It was never about achievement. It was never about honor rolls or spelling bees. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, 3 adults had sat in a group chat and made a deliberate plan, with a shopping list and assigned tasks, to use my children to force me back into line. My 9-year-old daughter and my 6-year-old son. Used like bargaining chips. Gloria didn't say a word. She just put her hand on my shoulder and stood there with me until I could breathe again. If you have ever found out that someone you trusted had been planning to hurt you, not in the heat of an argument but in cold, calculated steps, you know exactly what this moment feels like. You know why I kept going. Right now I need you to subscribe if you haven't already. And drop a comment telling me your city and the time you're watching because I can feel how many of you have been through something just like this. The farmer's market is coming up next. And that is where this story truly flips. March 1st, Diana called before I had finished my first cup of coffee. Your sister filed a state trademark application. Harmon Home Kitchen Artisan Desserts and Pastries. The product list is your entire sugar and soul menu, almost word for word. I set my mug down. Can she actually do that? Anyone can file. Whether it holds is a different question entirely, and it won't. Your documentation is airtight. Every receipt, every post, every license puts you ahead of her by at least 22 months. Diana filed our official challenge within 5 days. $1,500. I paid it with the savings I had been putting aside for a commercial stand mixer. The mixer could wait. My name could not. That same week, Renee posted another photo of my salted caramel apple tart. Perfect light, marble counter, a single slice on a ceramic plate. Caption: my grandmother's recipe perfected with love. I opened my culinary school notebook. Page 31. Salted caramel apple tart, final version. My instructor's red ink in the margin. This one's yours, Maya. Don't change a thing. Dated 19 months before Renee posted her first photo. I photographed every page front and back, uploaded everything to a cloud folder with automatic timestamps, and shared access with Diana. My grandmother made Jell-O molds and store-brand crescent rolls. She passed away when I was 13. She never once baked anything with either of us. My sister was building a brand on a complete lie, and my mother was cheering her on from the comments section like she was the one who planted the garden. A Wednesday evening mid-March. No call, no warning. Sandra's car in my driveway and her knuckles on my screen door. I had not seen her face in 4 months. She looked thinner. Fresh lipstick, which with Sandra always means she arrived with something prepared. We need to talk about this legal situation, she said from the porch. You need to drop it. I stepped outside and pulled the door shut behind me so the kids would not hear. Which legal situation? This thing with Renee. Trademark business. You are embarrassing this entire family. Which part is embarrassing, that she stole my recipes or that you helped her do it? Sandra's jaw tightened. Nobody stole anything. You learned to bake in my kitchen growing up. Those are family recipes. I developed them in culinary school. I have the notebooks. My instructor's handwriting is on every page. She shifted her weight, dropped her voice half a level, the way she does when guilt is her next move. I am your mother. I carried you. And you are choosing a baking business over your own blood. I looked at her, steady. No heat. No shake in my voice. You chose gift bags for 3 kids and empty spots for 2. You made the first move, Mom. Not me. Something shifted in her face. Not guilt exactly. More like the look of someone who has talked themselves into a corner and just realized there is no door in it. She left without another word. I watched her car turn off Maplewood Avenue. Then I went inside and finished a batch of lavender honey pound cake for Saturday prep. Roy called 2 days later. First time since Thanksgiving. He sounded worn down in a way that went past tired. Maya, your mother is not sleeping. She's not eating right. This whole situation is taking a real toll on her. I kept my voice low. Noah was watching cartoons in the other room. Dad. She planned the gift exclusion 2 weeks in advance. There is a group chat. I have the screenshots. Silence. Kind that sounds like a door being quietly closed. Where did you get those? Does it matter where I got them? More silence. I could hear him breathing. Your mother just wants you to come home, Maya. Home is not a place where my children get used to punish me, Dad. His voice went unsteady. What do you want me to do? And there it was. That one sentence said everything. Not because he wanted to act. 'Cause he had spent his whole life waiting for someone to tell him what the right move was. Roy was not a bad man. He was an absent one in all the ways that actually counted. Ask yourself why you never stopped it, I said. He hung up. I cried that night after the kids were asleep. Not because I was losing my father. I had lost him a long time ago, slowly, without either of us admitting it. I cried because he had just said it out loud, and now we could not pretend otherwise anymore. Saturday. Cedar Falls Town Square, 5:45 in the morning. String lights on the pavilion were still glowing, and vendor trucks were pulling in one by one with their headlights cutting through the early dark. I had packed the minivan the night before. 4 coolers of tart slices, 2 trays of pecan bars, chalkboard menu signs, sample plates, white tablecloth, business cards with a QR code linking to my Instagram. Noah stayed home with Paula, my next-door neighbor. Paula was a retired schoolteacher who had become one of my most solid supporters over the past 2 years, without ever making a thing of it. She had watched my kids through more late-night baking sessions than I could count. She had driven me to the county clerk's office twice when my car was in the shop. When I told her about Thanksgiving, she didn't fuss over it. She just said, "You did right." On market morning, she showed up at my door at 5 with a thermos of coffee and a pan of fresh cornbread before I had even finished loading the car. Zoe came with me. She insisted, and I did not argue. Slot 12. I set up the tablecloth, the chalkboard menus, the sample plates. Gloria's sunflowers, the one she had handed me after the vendor meeting in March, went into a mason jar at the corner of the table. Zoe taped a hand-drawn sign to the front of the table. Sugar and Soul, made with love. She had colored it the night before. Renee arrived at 6:35. Professional vinyl banner. Gold lettering. Matching gold boxes stacked in branded crates. Derek dropped her off, handed her something I could not see, and drove off without getting out of the car. She did not look at me. I did not look at her. By 9, foot traffic was steady. I sold 16 tart slices in the first hour. People stopped, tasted, and had questions. How long have you been doing this? Can I order for an event? Are you the place from Jenna's blog? Walt, the honey vendor, leaned over to Gloria around 9:30. Those 2 booths have the exact same menu. That's not a coincidence. Gloria sipped her coffee. No. It absolutely is not. A woman walked up to Renee's booth, tasted the salted caramel apple tart, then walked over to mine, tasted mine, and stopped. She looked back and forth between the 2 booths slowly, like she was doing math in her head. These taste identical, she said. They should, I said. It's my recipe. She looked at Renee's banner. Looked at mine. Looked at the dates printed on my menu card. Bought a whole tart and walked away without another word. 10:30, Sandra and Roy came in through the south entrance. Sandra wore her Sunday blazer, pale blue, pearl buttons. Roy followed behind her the way he always had, close enough to seem present, far enough to stay out of things. They went straight to Renee's booth. Sandra hugged her long and loud, the kind of hug meant to be seen. They stood there for 20 minutes, Sandra handing out samples to strangers passing by, Roy shaking hands with people from church. Proud Parents Show performed with precision. My booth was 40 feet away. They acted like I had never existed. A woman from Sandra's Wednesday Bible study, I recognized her from a Christmas potluck 3 years back, stopped at my table and leaned in. Your mother told the group that Renee started this business before you. Is that the truth? I reached into my market bag and pulled out the laminated comparison sheet Diana had put together for me. Left column, Sugar and Soul, established October 2023. Right column, Harmon Home Kitchen, established January 2026. Licenses, receipts, social media records, 23 months of documented difference, and laid it flat on the table. She read it top to bottom. She looked up at me. She looked down the row at Renee's booth. She looked back at me. Lord have mercy, she said, low and quiet. She bought 2 pecan bars, and she told the woman behind her in line. By 11, I had sold out of tart slices. Renee's booth still had a full table. 11:15, I saw her coming from 20 feet out. Gold apron, tight smile, hands clasped in front of her like she was heading into a meeting she had prepared for. Renee stopped at the edge of my tablecloth, close enough for the vendors near us to hear. You need to stop telling people I copied you. This is embarrassing for both of us. I haven't told anyone anything, Renee. Then why is everyone looking at your little comparison sheet? Because it tells the truth. That is what truth does. Her neck went red, color climbing from her collar all the way up. Those are family recipes, Maya. Mom taught both of us. Mom told me last week they were family recipes. You told Instagram our grandmother taught you. Which story is it today? Her face flushed completely. She leaned in. You have always been jealous of me. Since we were kids. You could not keep a husband and now you're out here with your little stand trying to. She stopped. Not because she ran out of things to say. 'Cause she realized people were listening. Walt had paused mid-pour. Gloria stood perfectly still behind her flower buckets. The woman from the Bible study was still at my table, pecan bar in hand, not moving. Dave was there. He had come to the market that morning specifically to support my opening day, standing 6 feet away with his arms folded, watching steadily. 3 more customers had stopped walking. Renee looked at the crowd. Her mouth worked, but nothing came out. I did not raise my voice. I did not move forward even one step. I reached into my market bag, pulled out Diana's folder, thick, organized, held together with a single black binder clip, and set it on the table between us. Then I opened it. This is my cottage food license, registered October 2023. These are 162 order receipts, every one dated and time-stamped. These are 31 Instagram posts from the last 23 months, all showing my original recipes. I turned to the next section. This is my culinary school notebook. Page 31. Salted caramel apple tart, final version, dated in my instructor's handwriting. I set the comparison sheet beside it. Left column, right column. 23 months between us. The state trademark office has already flagged your application because of my first use filing. My attorney submitted the official challenge in the first week of March. Renee stared at the open folder like she could not quite process what she was looking at. This is insane. You are being completely insane. It is a documented record, Renee. That's all it is. Sandra pushed through the crowd. Maybe 20 people by now, moving fast, Sunday blazer catching the morning light. What are you doing? Stop making a scene. I'm not making a scene, Mom. I'm showing people the truth. That is all I have ever tried to do. I reached into the folder one last time. One more page. I placed it flat on the table and turned it to face them both. Planning committee group chat screenshots. Sandra's message, get gift bags for the 3 kids. Not Maya's. She needs to feel the consequences. Renee, Derek can get the gaming stuff at cost. I'll handle the rest. Roy, is this really necessary? Sandra, this will wake her up. And the last one sent the night after I walked out. She'll come back before Christmas. She always does. Sandra went white. Not pale. White. The color that happens when the blood decides it has somewhere more important to be. Crowd went completely quiet. Renee recovered first. She turned to the people watching, palms up. She's lying. She has always been jealous. She couldn't hold her marriage together and now she's... The woman from the Bible study, pecan bar still in hand, cut in. Ma'am. Those documents have dates printed right on them. Renee's mouth stayed open. Then it closed. She looked for Derek. Derek had been standing behind her with Jordan, holding a reusable shopping bag, looking like a man who had expected to be somewhere entirely different by now. He looked at the open folder. He looked at Renee. Then he took one quiet, deliberate step backward. His face told the whole story. He had not known. Not about the recipes being stolen. Not about the trademark filing. Not about the planning committee group chat. Derek Harmon had just discovered that his wife's brand new business was built on her sister's work and his mother-in-law's quiet cruelty, and he was not going to pretend he hadn't seen it. Jordan stood behind his father, completely still. For the first time since Thanksgiving, he had absolutely nothing to say. Sandra tried one more time. She stepped in close. I could smell the vanilla perfume she had worn to every single family dinner since I was 11 years old. Maya, please. You are tearing this family apart in front of the whole town. I looked at her calmly. I did not tear it apart, Mom. I just stopped covering up the damage. Her hand shook. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. I just wanted you to need us again. And there it was. Small, almost honest. For half a second I saw her, not the woman who had run a months-long campaign against me, but a 63-year-old mother who had mixed up control and love so long she did not know how to reach for one without grabbing the other. Then she straightened up, looked at the crowd, and said, "None of this would have happened if you had just come for Christmas like I asked." And just like that, the moment was gone. She could not separate love from obedience. She was not going to learn how. And I had spent long enough waiting. Carolyn, the market coordinator, stepped forward from where she had been standing with her clipboard 10 feet away. She addressed both of us but kept her eyes on the crowd around us. I have reviewed both vendor applications and the county licensing records. Ms. Calloway's cottage food license for Sugar and Soul predates the other application by 23 months. The overlapping product descriptions have been flagged, and I am forwarding the matter to the County Food Safety Office for review. Translation: Renee had no license. Her booth was not coming back. Renee walked back to her table without a word. Derek followed. They packed the vinyl banner first, then the gold boxes, then the untouched samples. Jordan carried a folding table to Derek's car. Sandra and Roy left through the south entrance. Sandra walked 6 steps ahead. Roy followed the way he always had. My booth, a line formed. 12 people. Market regulars. Complete strangers who had been watching from the kettle corn stand or the pickle booth. The Bible study woman. Dave, still there, with a quiet smile he was not trying to hide. A woman I had never once seen before bought a whole tart and said, "I'm telling every single person I know about this place." Gloria stood at the corner of my booth with her arms crossed and a grin bigger than she usually let people see. Now that is what I call letting the work speak for itself. I almost could not answer. My throat was tight, not from anger but from the strange, unfamiliar feeling of being truly seen by people who had no reason to look and chose to anyway. Zoe had been back behind the booth the whole time, sitting on an overturned cooler with her colored pencils. During everything, she had been drawing. She held it up now, cardstock, careful lettering in her best handwriting. Sugar and Soul. We earned it. I looked at my daughter for a long moment. "Yeah, baby," I said. "We did. That hit you, if you have ever had to prove yourself to the very people who should have believed in you from the start. Hit that like button right now. Share this video with one person who needs to hear it today. And drop your city and the time in the comments. I want to know where you are watching from. You showing up here means everything." Market packed. Coolers empty. Tablecloth folded. The sunflowers in the mason jar were starting to droop, but still yellow enough to keep. I drove home the same 22 minutes I always did. Noah had spent the morning with Paula and was already asleep when she carried him out to the car. Same as the drive home from Thanksgiving, cheek against the window, completely trusting that wherever we were going, he was safe. At home, I laid him on the couch. Made tea. Opened my phone. The Harmon Calloway Family Blessings group chat sat at the top of my messages. 38 unread. I typed one message. I wish you well. But we are done. Do not contact me or my children. If you respect us at all, honor this boundary. I sent it. Left the group. Blocked Sandra's number. Blocked Renee's. Kept Roy's unblocked. Not because I expected him to become someone different. Hoping for a specific outcome is a kind of debt you keep collecting from yourself. I kept it open because one door should stay cracked in case the person behind it ever decides to knock on it honestly. He had not earned that yet. But I was not ready to say he never would. The phone went silent. No buzzing. No calls. For the first time since Thanksgiving, the silence was not a punishment. It was something else entirely. It was peace. I walked to the kitchen, cut 2 slices of salted caramel apple tart, and set them on the table. Zoe came in, still holding her new sign. Same chairs. Same table. Same tart that nobody had touched at my parents' house 4 months earlier. Mama, are we going to be okay? Zoe. I looked at her straight. We already are. She took a bite. I took a bite. The house was quiet. And for the first time in a long time, that quiet was completely and entirely ours. 2 months later, Sugar and Soul had a permanent spot at the Cedar Falls Spring Farmers Market. Every Saturday, slot 12, 5:45 a.m. setup. Gloria on my left with her flowers. Walt on my right with his honey. Most weeks I sold out before noon. Revenue was up nearly 200% from the January low. Not because of the confrontation. Because the food was good, the customers kept coming back, and now they had a real story to go with the tart in their hand. Diana called on a Tuesday. The trademark challenge went through. Your sister's application was rejected on the grounds of your documented first use. She can keep the name Harmon Home Kitchen, but she cannot register overlapping product descriptions. Your full menu is protected. I thanked her, paid her final invoice, set the phone down, and stood in front of my refrigerator. Zoe's spelling test. Noah's space giraffe painting. My laminated food handler's certificate. A photo Dave had taken at the market of me handing a tart to a customer. Both of us mid-laugh, flour still on my apron. Renee's Instagram had gone quiet. Last post was 3 weeks earlier. No new orders. No captions about grandmother's traditions. Just silence. Sandra had not reached out. Not a text. Not a voicemail. Not a knock on my door. Roy sent one message in late April. Short. I'm sorry. I didn't stop it when I should have. I read it 3 times. I did not respond. I did not delete it. In May, I started a new tradition. I called it the Sugar and Soul Thanksgiving. Not in November, in May. 'Cause gratitude does not need a single assigned day on the calendar. Gloria and her husband came. Dave brought a bottle of wine and his famous honey-glazed street corn. Paula came with her cornbread and stayed 3 hours. Zoe set the table with our good plates. Noah put a paper crown on the neighbor's dog who wandered in through the back gate like he owned the place. And I went to the dollar store and bought 2 sparkly silver gift bags. I filled them with homemade caramel apples and hand-painted cards I had stayed up until midnight making. One at Zoe's spot. One at Noah's. Noah picked his up immediately. Mama, is this for me? Every gift at this table is for you, baby. Always. That will never change. He tore into it like it was the best surprise of his life. Zoe opened hers slowly. Read the card inside. Put it carefully into her pocket, the way she keeps the things she wants to hold on to for a long time. I used to believe family meant showing up no matter what. No matter how small they made you feel. No matter how empty the chair they saved for you at the table. I do not believe that anymore. Family means showing up for the people who show up for you. My parents had 35 years to make different choices. They chose group chats and gift bags and gossip over their own grandchildren. I chose my kids. I chose my work. I chose the life where we sit at a table that was built to make us feel like we belong there. And I would make the same choice every single time without hesitation. That is my story. One Thanksgiving. One walkout. One folder full of documentation that changed the whole game. If this story reminded you that your boundaries are not selfishness with a different name, share this right now with someone who needs to hear it. It might be the one thing they needed today. And before you go, drop your city and the time you are watching this in the comments. I want to see the map. I want to see how far silent revenge is reaching. Every comment you leave helps this channel grow and puts this story in front of the next person who is sitting at their own empty spot wondering why they were not enough. Hit subscribe if you are not already on board. I post every week, real stories, real people, real outcomes. And if you have been through something like this, reach out. Your story might be the next one on this channel. I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves out there.